some of the things that were happening at Hyundai, daily readings of how the UAW is corrupt, how Shawn Fain go on these lavish vacations, and how we don't need the union here. Some of our management to throw away some of our paperwork.
Huge Volkswagen win in Chattanooga, Tennessee. The win by the workers at Volkswagen, their huge union election. They won by 73%. The vote was over 2,600 in favor to less than 1,000 against. 73% of the workers who voted in favor of unionizing with the UAW. It was a huge win, landslide. I think people were expecting a win, but I don't think people were expecting it to be that big. And so this is a really big deal. And, you know, for folks who don't like, there are a lot of people, I hear a lot of folks on the radio, and a lot of folks just in, just in the media who do not understand why these workers are unionizing. They think that they've got it too good already. They think that these folks don't deserve it better. And just here's a couple of things from Luis's article about this in Labor Notes. The title of the article is Tennessee Volkswagen Workers Vote Union. Production workers at Volkswagen earn $23 an hour to start and top out at $32 an hour, which is compared with $43 an hour for production workers at Ford's Spring Hill assembly plant by the end of the contract in 2028. And that's in the same state, in the same industry, doing the same job, and you're making 25% less. So that's a huge reason to vote union. Additionally, the workers at Volkswagen and definitely at Mercedes, they've had to deal with two-tier wages. Workers across Tennessee, a recent poll conducted by the Conservative Beacon Center found that 44% of respondents statewide in Tennessee viewed the UAW favorably, while only 19% viewed it unfavorably. So there's a there's a lot of wins at the backs of the folks down in up in Volkswagen in Chattanooga, and a lot of reason for them to vote yes. And really, the biggest reason is just so that they have some autonomy. They don't have to be at the whim of their employers for whatever the owners and executives at Volkswagen want to do. The workers now in Volkswagen have a say themselves. They don't have to depend on the bosses. So that's a huge win for folks there, and we're excited to watch them begin their contract negotiations. And so we wanted to talk to Jacob Ryan, a Mercedes worker in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Keishel Liggins, a Hyundai worker in Montgomery, Alabama, both of them members of the organizing committee with the UAW here in the state. Jacob and Keishel, thank you for taking the time to talk to us this morning. I really appreciate it.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. I guess the first thing I want to ask y'all about is the win at Volkswagen. So, Keishel, were you expecting them to win as big as they did in Chattanooga?
Of course not. Of course not. We were speechless. It was Jacob and David, I think, that had it real time, and it was basically over before it started. But we didn't realize, actually, like, they were winning. Like, they blew it out of the park. So it was totally unexpected.
What were some of your first thoughts when you heard that they were winning? And like you said, they were winning big. I mean, from the very beginning of the vote count, it was obvious that the workers were going to win. What were some of the things going through your mind at that time?
So we were in the middle of the conference, so we were kind of trying to get stationary. So we kind of like glanced at it and was like, okay, it's still early. It's like, 30 minutes or 45 minutes. So let's just get to, the stationary area where we're going to watch it like a watch party. So I'm like, I didn't really think, that much on it, even though I'm seeing the numbers actually as we're walking. But it's a lot more time. So I'm like, it's going to get a lot closer. But then as time started dwindling and the numbers kept going up, I was like, wow, this is right. That was monumental. Like, that was, I can't even describe the feeling, but it was like, I don't know, it was just I don't know, it was just good. Just the feeling in the room was warm, and it was just like, it was like New Year's, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Well, Jacob, what about you? What were you thinking when you were seeing the vote come in? Is Jacob on mute?
Yeah.
Oh,
Jacob,
sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah.
So it was in the middle of our main session at Labor Notes, and me and David were sitting by each other, and we had the live vote count coming in, and we just kept looking at it, hitting each other, and we couldn't believe how much they were winning by. I mean, the whole vote count, they were up somewhere between 70 and 80%. And I mean, it was just an amazing night. And afterwards, we headed to the watch party to watch the end of it, and it was crazy. I mean, I thought they were going to win, but that 73%, that was insane to me.
Yeah. Well, and so now you've had a few days to be back down in Alabama, presumably talking to your coworkers. What have people been saying? How has this affected the campaign on the ground back home in Tuscaloosa?
Oh yeah. So a lot of people were talking about the Volkswagen vote. And I think it's just putting us well above the bar for our vote. And I mean, of course, we have the anti-union people and Mercedes coming out saying, oh, Volkswagen just voted yes, so let's just wait and see what happens with them, and we'll vote no this time and wait and see what happens with them, and we can come back and vote yes later if you want to. And we're not doing that. We're getting this through.
Yeah, so it doesn't seem like your coworkers are buying that. They don't want to. They don't want to wait around.
No. And then they said sit and wait, but last night we were able to watch Daimler Trucks win their new contract, and I think that's going to be another push for us because they had a massive contract last night. Hasn't been ratified yet, but that's going to be another big push for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like there are very similar gains to what the Big Three were able to get, what workers at the Big Three were able to get in their contracts. So that's been a topic of conversation among the workers in Tuscaloosa as well, what they just won last night in the tentative agreement at Daimler Trucks.
Yes. So I know a lot of us have been watching that. I mean, Daimler Trucks and Mercedes used to be under the same umbrella. They split us up back about 2 years ago, kind of split the company, but there's still ties. So we've been watching the Daimler thing pretty close. And I mean, with that win last night, just about an hour before the strike deadline, and right. I mean, they gained so much in that contract if it is to be ratified. So I'm sure we're going to be hitting on that coming up on Monday.
So, Keishel, what about you? You're the Hyundai campaign in Montgomery has been, the Mercedes campaign was maybe 3 or 4 weeks behind Volkswagen, and it seemed like Hyundai is about 3 or 4 weeks behind Mercedes, as far as the progression. How has the Volkswagen win impacted the campaign at Hyundai? What have your coworkers been saying about this win in Chattanooga?
So, some are aware, some don't watch the news. So we're still getting the news out to people, but those that do know, they're really excited and they're asking us, well, what about Mercedes? Are they getting ready to vote? Or, so they're excited, but then you have some that's saying, oh, well, let's just wait to see what Mercedes does. And I'm like, Jacob, we don't have time to wait. We are brothers and sisters with Mercedes, but we have our own campaign. So if we wait, we may miss the momentum. Right now we have a wave. We need to continue fighting the fight, and we all do it together instead of separate or one behind another. But it'll be impactful either way.
Right. And at Hyundai, the if Hyundai and I think Toyota in Missouri, I think both of y'all are kind of in very similar places in your campaign, and y'all will be the first non-German foreign automakers in the South. Hyundai and Toyota, or I think Toyota is Japanese, but I think is Hyundai South Korean, or is Hyundai Japanese too?
It's Korean.
Okay, yeah. So, but non-German, Asian companies, and those companies, Hyundai and Toyota, have been, I think, even more historically anti-union than Mercedes and Volkswagen. I think in part because Mercedes and Volkswagen have this relationship with the unions in Germany, and the Toyota and Hyundai are really, really, really motivated to try to keep unions out. Have y'all faced more anti-union kind of harassment at Hyundai in Montgomery than maybe folks like Jacob and the folks in Volkswagen in Chattanooga have seen?
It feels like it has. We actually, I think when they did their 50% rally, we actually went up to Mercedes and we were discussing some of the things that were happening at Hyundai, which were the daily readings of how the UAW is corrupt, their constant flashing on the screen of how Shawn Fain and the UAW bosses, they go on these lavish vacations, and how we don't need the union here. We have this Alabama Strong campaign that they're focusing on. We also have BCA, the Business Council of Alabama, who just maybe a mile from the plant on the strip home, there are 2 billboards, maybe 200 feet apart, talking against the union. We have anti-union signs. We have some of our management to throw away some of our paperwork. But we just continue to fight. Now our presence is becoming more and more known. We've been getting out more. We tried to form a union before, and everybody got intimidated because they used to come around in the break areas and harass only the pro-union people. But this time around, we stood up for more than just we weren't pushovers. So we continue to document. We continue to flash our Know Your Rights cards. We reported, and so we're getting less and less, and also kind of a small sense of we wear red T-shirts on Wednesday, and we've had some management on the slide wearing red shirts or pink shirts, or kind of showing their support in the background. So, but yeah, it's been rough because, like I said, you do have that they don't speak to us, or like throwing away our paperwork. Like they really try to make it hard. Those signs that you come in, they have just people posted up, and I think the BCA is like really, really, really. They've gotten some new signs actually this week, where we had just no union, don't want one, don't need one. Now we have them sponsored by the BCA, and they've been posted along the road of the plant just this week.
When people are talking about this anti-campaign, particularly the one that is put on by the BCA, how do people react to that? Because, in my mind, when I see, the BCA is literally a union of employers, right? I mean, that's what it is. They're coming together. They're acting, in concert, collectively for their collective interests as employers. And so when I see that, right, I say, for one, we have conflicting interests as classes, right? You're in the ownership class. You take money from the profits that I create by giving me less money, and I make money by keeping more of the value that I create. So, there's like a real fundamental conflict there, but also there's the real hypocrisy of all of these companies, including Hyundai and Mercedes. I'm pretty sure they're part of the business council, coming together and acting collectively in their collective interests to say that we should not come together and act in our collective interests. I mean, what do people say about that? Keishel, I was pointing the question at you.
Okay. So a lot of people don't understand what the BCA really stands for. And so we have to get that message across. We've been working through that with the VOC. And like you said, they actually pay dues, and it's set up just like a union. Like It's actually, business corporations coming together. So that's one of the things that we actually have to inform our workers of. So basically what they say, just for seeing the signs, they're saying the plant's going to close, that they're going to move and go to Mexico, that, we can't we're going to get fired if we talk about it, or, this is the way and the only way. I see a group leader or a manager that's constantly on the Alabama Strong page, while I work alongside of him. I don't think he noticed, but they're just intimidated. Like, some people are really just intimidated. In the area that I work in, it's kind of hard to get out. So we just have to keep trying to deliver the message through one another from shift to shift to try to get it across the plant.
Right. Jacob, what about at Mercedes? How are people reacting to this, concerted campaign from the business council and from all of these politicians? Just in the last week, we've had 2 op-eds from politicians, from the Speaker of the House in the state of Alabama. How are folks reacting to this?
Most of the things from the politicians, people aren't really listening to it at all. Most people at Mercedes don't particularly care for Governor Kay Ivey anyway. So, when they come out and say all this, a lot of times it actually drives our support. And like Kay Ivey has came out and said about a month ago that the UAW coming in is a out-of-state special interest group coming to attack Alabama economic model. And thing is, it's not out of a state. Our whole campaign has been worker-led. When we first started our campaign, we went and talked to UAW. We told them we wanted to run the campaign through us, and they've allowed us to do that. This has all been the workers in the plant. All the UAW has done this far is give us material support in printing our flyers and sending in shirts and hats. Everything about our campaign has been about us, by us. And Governor Kay Ivey hasn't came and talked to us. She doesn't know what's going on. She's just talking on things she doesn't know about.
Right.
So, all the political stuff, it's just it's not really being seen. And when it is, it's going in our favor. We see bumps in support.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
I think that the out-of-state smear from the political class and the business class on the UAW in this situation is it's something that they've been saying literally since Reconstruction and slavery. This is something that they've always been saying is outside agitators are trying to attack the South's economic model. This has been something they can't update their talking points for anything, but in this situation in particular, it is so funny because even if you want to say the UAW is headquartered in Detroit, well, where is Mercedes headquartered? You probably couldn't even say the name of the city that it's headquartered, somewhere wherever it is in Germany, right? And the same thing with Hyundai and Toyota. These are not Alabama companies. These are not even American companies. These are foreign foreign, out of country interests. And so, the idea that she's defending, foreign interests against the out of state interest of the UAW is just, it's been, particularly ironic, I think, in this situation. The UAW came out with a poll recently showing that a majority of Alabamians actually have a favorable opinion of the UAW, including a majority of Republicans, with only 20% of Alabamians having a negative view of the UAW. Jacob, is this something that you've been seeing in support from the community as, people from outside of the plant, as you interface with them? Is that something that you've been able to see just as the campaign progresses, that there's a lot of support out there in the community for y'all?
I have. So I am on one of our ads that's being played on Facebook and other social media. And once that ad came out, I've been being stopped in public. And when I'm picking my kids up from daycare, other parents, and they're talking to me, they're like, "Oh, I've seen you," and they're giving their support. And I think the community is really supporting us. And I mean, if we win, this will be a win for the local communities. Once we win and we're able to win a good contract, that puts more money into the community through the employees spending more money locally. And I think the community knows that, and it's just gonna bring everyone up along with us.
Right. Absolutely. Keishel, what about you? Have you been seeing, that support play out as your campaign progresses?
Well, yes. I really saw it with the labor notes, but I went to the State House a couple of weeks ago. I think you and Adam, well, on two separate occasions, I saw you guys at the State House. But to just see that and to get that feel to know what a union actually is about. The community has always been in full support, but because 80% of the time we're in the plant and we have in our ear management, we have to sit through meetings that we don't want to and hear information that we don't want to, whether we want to or not. We don't have a choice. They're constantly playing it like a broken record on the TV screens and also on the radios now and the billboards. That's all that some people see. So since they hear and see that more, they kind of flock to that. But the community has always been in support of us, and I'm seeing it more and more as I do more and more union work. Like I said, the labor notes was a great way to network and actually feel that, because when I was in those rooms, I actually got to talk to people who actually already thought like me. I didn't have to convince them of what I'm trying to do because they already knew the struggle and they already felt what I felt. So it was genuine love and solidarity across the board, even at the State House. And that's what's important about unions, is that when we come together, regardless of if it's your fight or my fight or Jacob's fight, everybody's fighting for that cause. They're just there to help support one another. And so the more and more people see that, I think the more and more they'll be less reluctant to join in and learn more, because the company only focuses on dues and what you can't get, or they don't have to, bargain in good faith. But it's really important to do your work about what unions really are.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't echo that enough. And I just want to lift that up, that I think seeing is believing, right? And when you see folks come together for that common cause, and when you see those wins start to come out of that, when people stick together and you all benefit from it, yeah, people get on board. People want to be part of something bigger than themselves. But yeah, to your point, it's just so much propaganda that's being unleashed on the population of Alabama. I think folks who are listening from outside of Alabama maybe just can't really appreciate how much propaganda is being dumped out there, especially in Montgomery, especially in Tuscaloosa. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. And so I know it's a lot more work on y'all's part as worker organizers, but I know that, the truth will set us free.
There you go. You know, so you mentioned labor notes, and that's a great segue. We want to talk to you about labor notes. Before we move on to that topic, though, just to remind folks of the reason that y'all are fighting. It's not, you know, it's not ethereal or some, you know, kind of you know, theoretical reason. You have real material interests in this campaign and in winning this campaign. And Keshel, you have a particularly powerful story about, you know, how management tried to punish you for taking leave to, you know, be with your family. Can you tell folks that story and you know, the story that you told at Labor Notes on a panel with me? That really activated you and made you want to really devote a significant amount of time to this campaign.
Yes. So I'm a single mother, and both of my sons play sports. So my younger son actually it was the playoffs. So I had scheduled a half a day of vacation time so that I could attend the playoff game. And it was already approved. So when it was come close to time to leave, there was someone walked by and said, okay, I'm going to relieve you. But they never came. So it came time for me to leave. I left. I clocked out. I went to my son's game. The next day, I got a call from a coworker that told me that, hey, when you get back, you're going to be written up for job insubordination. They said that you left the line without notifying anybody. So when I got back, sure enough, on that Monday, I was sitting before team relations and the management. Team relations is the mediation between the management and the worker. And I was told that I left the line too soon and that I needed to understand that the job is more important than my family, and that, you know, that I would be docked for insubordination. But needless to say, I did not. But that's what resonated more to me, because the reason why I even go to work is to support my family. Right. And so I work to live. I don't live to work. And so for you to tell me that I need to concentrate on work more than I do my family, and I had a documented excuse time off, that was when I knew that things had certainly went awry and that I had to do something more than just come to work every day. So it became a personal interest of mine to make something change, to get something done.
And Jacob, at Mercedes, one of the things that you've told us before, and I don't think you've told it on our program, but I've interviewed you for other programs before, and you've told this about how they implemented Twotier in 2020, even as they were making, you know, huge profits. Can you just talk to us about that? Remind us what Twotier is and the situation at Mercedes when it was implemented. Talk to us about that.
All right. So back in 2020, they implemented two-tier pay systems. And our normal top out for the tier one employees was at that time around $31. And the two-tier system came in, and anyone hired after January 2020 topped out. At the beginning it was like $26.50, then it eventually moved up to $27.50, and they were never going to be equal to the tier one employees. They were never going to catch up to them. We have roundtable meetings at our plant where we get to sit down with management and ask questions. And one of the questions asked just about a year ago was, will tier two ever catch up to tier one? Or will they ever abolish tier two pay? And their answer, and we have it on paper, because after these meetings, they print out all the questions and answers and post them in the team rooms. On paper, they say that tier two is not planned to ever go away, and they will not catch up to tier one. And when we started our campaign, right after we announced we were at 30% support, within 2 months, our campaign has moved very fast, much faster than any of us have expected. That 30% so fast caught Mercedes off guard. And so they threw out a bunch of stuff to us to try to get the union drive to die down. And we're able to get them to cancel tier 2. And they tried to claim, oh, this is what we always were going to do. But we have it on paper where you say you're not going to do it.
Right.
So,
right.
So
what you're telling us, Jacob, is that you don't want to just have to trust the company. You want something that's actually
Correct.
in writing, that you can actually hold them accountable to.
Yes, we want a contract that will force them to do what they have agreed on, because right now they can change anything at any moment, and we've seen them do it.
And I think that's just amazing that they did that in 2020 as they were making huge profits. There was not any, business reason to implement two-tier. They just wanted to make more money. And I think that's really, kind of what you get with corporate America. And so let's talk about labor notes then. Kishel, you mentioned labor notes. Jacob, you were at labor notes as well. What was, I guess first, Jacob, what were you expecting when you were, planning to go to labor notes? Did you have kind of an idea of what it was going to be, or what were you expecting? And then what was it like being there? What did you do?
Well, I had no idea what to expect. I've never been to any kind of conference, much less a labor conference with other union organizers and union members. So when I got there that Friday, and I went to my first class, it was a panel class on inoculation. And after that class, I knew that the whole weekend was going to be amazing for me. Like the things I was able to learn in there and all the other panels and classes I went to, it just all that information and the things I was able to learn about what to be expecting in the future and this fight up to the vote and what to expect on the fight for a contract. And even after that, once a contract signed, and then the networking there, that was a little overwhelming. There's so many people's names and numbers I have, and I had to start creating notes in their contacts in my phone so I can remember who everyone is and what organization they're from. But I mean, I probably added over 50, 60 names and numbers in my phone just in those 3 days. But that whole experience was amazing, and I definitely would like to go back in 2 years when they have it again.
Do you have a favorite panel or favorite thing about labor notes?
Well, like I said, that first class, inoculation, learning all about that, because I didn't even know what the term inoculation meant as far as union organizing.
Right.
And so inoculation is just where we have to get out and spread the word to our coworkers about what the company is going to try to do, and let them know how the company is going to try to attack us so we can be prepared for those attacks and know how to respond to them. And really, that was a class that was amazing for me. And we got some great ideas because I'm sure there's going to be another all-team meeting, and I won't say it now because it hasn't happened yet, but we have some ideas that we're going to work on doing for the all-team meeting that we expect that's going to be coming up probably a few days before our vote starts. But that inoculation class really stuck with me.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Something really practical and timely for you. That's great to hear.
Keshell, what about you? What were you expecting when you knew that you were going to be heading up there, and what was your experience like?
So I kind of try to give myself an idea of what Labor Notes was all about by just going on the page and just looking at it. And so I could see that it was big, but I guess I still didn't account for how big it really was. And so I came in on that Thursday because I had a panel early that Friday. And, it was still kind of quiet, but, there were people coming in. So that Friday I got up early to try to prepare. I ate breakfast at maybe 8. I spoke on a panel and the world just came crashing down. Like, it was like confetti. Like, all the people were more excited for me. I think the nerve that I thought I, was nervous, like, people were cheering for me harder than I was just speaking, from my heart. And so people were coming up, can I get a selfie? Do you have the contact information? How can I? And I'm, it's like Jacob said, I was overwhelmed, but I was also excited that I said something and I spoke to so many people that, this is the same conversation I have daily with my coworkers, and it gets nowhere. But to see a room full of people who are fully engaged and to actually come like lining up to actually ask questions, get my information, to take photos, to give their insight, to tell me how inspiring my story is, and to keep fighting no matter what, that was exhilarating. Like you said, the networking, the atmosphere, it was unmatched. Labor Notes was like, I was exhausted. So, the 8 o'clock, I said that because I wanted to let you know the next time I got a break was 5 o'clock that evening, and I had to cut off interviews. I was interviewed by the Washington Post. There were so many different, there were people doing labor studies. I just had to say, hey, I respectfully decline. I just really cannot go any further. But if you can, just meet me in the morning at my next panel. So I wasn't able to attend many workshops because I was actually speaking on the panels. But just to read all of the workshops, and just to network with the people, and people, like, as I engaged or walked around, people were like, "Oh, you did so good! You did so good!" They were steady coming up, steady pumping up. That big ego I already had, and I was already walking around with my shoulders held high because I felt like I was important. Like it was just a kind of a breakthrough that I wanted with my workers. It has not resonated yet, and so it filled me up so much, and it just made me so eager to hurry up and get back. But I wanted to stay focused on what was going on at Labor Notes because I didn't want to miss anything. I wanted to make sure that I networked and I touched every room, and to, give my full potential so that I could give everything back to my workers when I made it back home.
Well, Keshell and Jacob, really appreciate y'all taking the time. Y'all are definitely like celebrities, I think, in the labor world. What y'all are doing down here in Alabama, it's a big deal. Y'all are making history, so appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Glad I got to hang out with y'all for a little bit at Labor Notes. It was great. Anything else that y'all want to leave folks with before we let you go?
I just want to personally thank both you, Jacob and Adam, just for being a listening ear and just for having this podcast to actually have us come on. That has actually helped. I was actually listening to the podcast before I actually, as building up to Labor Notes. So I was, every time I would see you guys are celebrities to me. So to see you guys at the State House and then to get invited onto a panel and then now your podcast, that was definitely a thrilling moment for me. Continue to do what you guys do, and just get the word out. And if any way that you can help or we can help, just by speaking, our stories, I'm more than willing. I had a personal conversation with Adam and Jacob, you as well. Whatever I can do to help or get whatever needs to be done or to help push your podcast, I'm more than willing. And just thank you for that opportunity. And you guys keep up the great work that you do.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Keshell. We really appreciate both of y'all. As Jacob said, you're making history. You are paving the way for workers across this state to make positive change, and we can do it. You're doing it right now, so we appreciate y'all, and holler at us anytime.
All right. Thanks again, y'all. That was Jacob Ryan, organizing committee member and worker at Mercedes in Tuscaloosa, and Keishel Liggins, organizing committee member and worker at Hyundai in Montgomery.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.